Tough questions to consider. These are some of the questions that should be asking not only your candidates but also yourself. Keep in mind that the vendor search is very long and tough process. It can take months, maybe even more. Be patient and don't give up because it is an investment and you need to make calculated decisions. Also be prepared to change manufacturers. Don't just settle for one. Keep your options open. If things don't work out with one, then you have other options. Remember that this is a two-way interview where both parties should be asking each other questions. Another good point to consider is, does the manufacturer ask you any questions about your experience, about your strategy, about your plans? If not, then it can potentially be a red flag because they may be only interested in dropship and be done with the type of deal. So some of the questions that you should consider are, does the manufacturer have strong experience in watchmaking? Is watchmaking their primary business? Have they created a watch similar to mine before? Do they have references that they can provide? Do they have portfolio watches created? Does the manufacturer have an interest in my success? How many clients does the manufacturer service at one time? And how is their communication? Do they follow up? Do they respond timely? Do they provide clear and full information? So these are just some important questions to keep in mind. Associations and certifications. A lot of serious watch manufacturers belong to certain organizations and associations, which are recognized all over the world. Some hold certain certifications to attest to their standards of quality. As you go through your research, it is a good practice to ask your top candidates if they belong to any of the following associations, or if they hold any certifications. Of course, it's not a requirement, but if the response is a no, then you should inquire why is it that they don't consider that, and make your judgment from there. Some examples of the associations are American Watchmakers Institute, Hong Kong Watch Manufacturers Association, National Association of Watch and Clock Collectors. Minimum order quantities. Let's talk about the MOQs. This is an important topic and there are several points to consider. When I was first starting out, I didn't understand the big picture, and it has led to miscommunication and certain frustrations when dealing with manufacturers, as well as understanding the general pricing. First, if this is your first project, you will want to minimize your risk to the lowest possible, but it's not easy to accomplish. In general, please keep in mind that this is a full-blown commitment and no half-assed projects here. If you decided to build a successful watch company with a long legacy behind it, then you need to be prepared to go all in. What do I mean by this? I was in the same boat when I was first wanted to create my custom watch collection. I was searching for a watch manufacturer who will create a small batch for me, like 5 to 10 watches. Something small that would allow me to check their quality and not spend too much upfront. In all honesty, I highly doubt that there will be a respectable watch manufacturer who will take on such a small quantity. And it would not be easy for you to let go of that notion. It would be just much easier to let go of that notion and rather focus on long term. As you start negotiating, focus on such important items as, can the manufacturer create free samples or prototypes for you if you choose them? The good ones that are confident in their craftsmanship should have no problem with that. In this scenario, you need to negotiate a deal where you will pay for the production of the prototypes, but keep in mind that these costs may be high, from $200 all the way up to $2,000 depending on the complexity. Also, you have to cover the cost for creating molds such as mold for watch hands, for the case, but these molds will be yours to keep and can be used for the main production and any future collections. Average turnaround time for creating a prototype should be around a month, and the manufacturer should be keeping you up to date on the progress with the photos. In fact, you should agree up front that the manufacturer to send you photos at every milestone for review and approval. The next point, are they willing to make the necessary changes to these prototypes if there is a limit to these changes? The prototype is technically the exact same version of the watch that will be produced during the mass production. Therefore, if any changes are needed, then it's best to bring them up front. In fact, as we will cover during the design process, you should diligently discuss every possible detail during the design phase in order to eliminate any possibility of a needed change once the manufacturer starts making your samples. Once they start making your samples, be persistent in asking your account manager to keep you updated on every step of the process by sending you pictures. Great manufacturers don't shy away from this and make an attempt to keep the client in the loop. For instance, once the mold for the case is completed, they should send you a few photos of that. Once the watch hands arrive, they should send you a pic or two as well. This not only allows you to track the progress, check the quality, but also keep your own customers engaged. You can use some of these preliminary in-progress photos to post on social media, for example, or your blog. Then send them to your customers with a caption such as "work in progress." Watchmaking at its best. We don't just create watches, we create traditions, and so forth. 200 to 500 MOQ is an industry average. In majority of the instances, the manufacturer will produce 500 watch cases. If you are wondering what a watch case is, we will cover this in the watch components section. Then they will order 100 to 200 watch movements and other components in order to create a complete watch for you. So you can bring this point up front during the initial negotiations or upon receipt of the initial invoices. This will make you sound like a legitimate watch businessman or businesswoman. As always, lower MOQs mean higher prices. One thing to keep in mind, and I personally wish I knew that at the beginning, is to ask the manufacturer if they have any watches or watch cases or any other components in stock, which you may be able to use on your collection, which should bring your production costs down.